Senator Cruz.
The state of Illinois, like the state of Texas, is dealing with yet another horrific mass murder. Inevitably, when a crime of this sort occurs, a political debate bursts out in Washington within instance. Everyone on this committee, everyone in this room, wants to prevent the next mass murder. Everyone is horrified at the criminals who would take the lives of children, take the lives of the innocent, and we're horrified at the steadily increasing rates of murders, whether in the city of Chicago, in cities across the country, or whether in my home state, in the beautiful elementary school of Robb Elementary in Uvalde, Texas. The question is how to do so. How do you stop mass murders? There are two approaches. One approach is target the bad guys, target the felons, target the fugitives, target those with serious mental illness, prosecute them, put them in jail. When they try to illegally buy firearms, prosecute them and get them off the street. And at the same time, enhance the security of vulnerable locations in our society. That includes schools, that includes churches, it includes places that these deranged murderers have been targeted. That's the approach that I believe works. There's a second approach, which the Democrat members of this committee support, which is gun control, which is targeting law-abiding citizens and disarming law-abiding citizens. That second approach doesn't work. It's consistently ineffective. If the objective is stop mass murders, gun control doesn't work. The state of Illinois has among the strictest gun control laws of any state in the country. Highland Park has even stricter gun control laws than the state of Illinois. Consistently, if you look across the country at the jurisdictions with the strictest gun control laws, almost without exception, they have the highest crime rates and the highest murder rates. It's not complicated why when you disarm law-abiding citizens. The result is the criminals don't follow the laws, they have the guns, and the law-abiding citizens are unable to defend themselves. Now, we saw on Sunday another deranged murder, a killer fired into a crowd in Greenwood Park Mall in Greenwood, Indiana. Within 15 seconds, that killer was shot and killed by 22-year-old Eli Dicken, who thankfully was carrying a concealed handgun. Many more lives would have been lost in Indiana that day if Mr. Dicken had not been there, had not exercised his Second Amendment right, and had not saved the lives of the innocent there. That's not an exception. It's not unusual. According to the Obama White House, firearms are used defensively to stop a crime in the United States of America between 500,000 and 1 million times every year. Whenever you have a deranged murderer committing a crime, there are two and only two ways they stop. Number one, law enforcement stops them. Or number two, an individual citizen who is armed stops them. Those are the two ways. If we want to stop crimes, we need to get the criminals off the streets, and we need to increase law enforcement. Now, we just had a debate on gun control, and the Democrats passed a bill with some Republican support that I think is likely to do nothing to prevent violent crime. It satisfied a political agenda, but it is unlikely to stop the next mass murder. I submitted a bill, Cruz, which would have prosecuted violent criminals, gotten them off the streets. It would have created a national Project Exile so that if a criminal commits a crime with a gun, he faces federal prosecution and mandatory jail time, so the trigger pullers are not there to commit crimes. And Cruz Barrasso would have doubled the number of police officers in schools. And it would have devoted an additional $10 billion to mental health counselors in schools to stop these troubled young boys and men who so often are the trigger pullers committing these crimes. Unfortunately, the Democrats on this committee and every Democrat in the Senate voted against Cruz Barrasso because a proposal that actually is devoting resources to law enforcement, to stopping the murderers, to preventing the crimes, to getting the murderers off the streets, that is not politically advantageous. Their objective is disarm the law-abiding citizens. Indeed, many of the Democrats on this committee would happily ban concealed handguns, which would have disarmed Eli Dickin and would have resulted in a lot more people being murdered. Many of the Democrats on this committee would ban AR-15s, which would have disarmed Stephen Williford, who stopped the Sutherland Springs mass murderer with his AR-15 and saved lives. This topic is serious. I commend the witnesses for being here. I wish the members of this committee treated it with the seriousness to actually ask what stops crime and stops murders, because the political solutions this body has put forward does not do that. And instead of the political bill that is not going to stop crime, we should have passed Cruz Barrasso and doubled the number of cops in schools and stopped murderers from committing their crimes.
Senator Padilla.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.